20 minutes on the timer. Let's do it.
Cool.
Excitement.
Yeah.
It's good to be back, right?
It's awesome to be back. We've both been so busy. It's mental. It's so nice to be back on the podcast.
In it. All right, you lead. I mean, what you wanted to chat? You chat. Go for it.
So I have a really funny story. Well, I think it's funny anyway. So basically, at my other job, I basically have to get qualified as a lifeguard in order to keep my job there, because they have a swimming pool. They need all the members of staff to be qualified. And I haven't swum in maybe like 10 to 15 years, like properly. Like I've been to the beach on holiday and blah, blah, blah. Used to be quite a strong swimmer when I was younger. So I was like, okay, it might be a bit weird to start with, but I'm going to be fine. I literally got in the swimming pool, and it's not even a full length pool either. And the guy who was training us up was like, okay, so for a warm up, you're just going to swim to the end of the pool and swim back. Oh my God. I swam to the end of the pool. That took me about a minute, which is a really long time. And I got to the end of the pool and my chest was hurting. I literally couldn't breathe. It's like, since when has swimming been this hard? It was crazy. And I just had a bit of like a wake up call of like, wow, like I'm really strong and can lift weights really well. And look at me, like proper big ego. I was like, I can't even swim the length of a swimming pool without being mad out of breath. And in the next few months, I have to pass this lifeguard course, which is like a timed swim and then dragging a person by the neck, like to get them out of the pool. It's like, okay, so that's going to be fun. And it just made me realize, I was like, oh God, like maybe this is how some of our clients feel. When they first come to one of our sessions, they're like, how bad can it be? And then they arrive and actually it's really hard. And for a split second, I was like, oh God, like I had that kind of moment of like questioning everything. So I was like, I'm meant to be like a role model for fitness. My job is a personal trainer. Like I'm strong. I thought I was fit. I was like, wow, like one simple thing was so hard. I was so bad at it. And since then I've been on a little journey and I'm just essentially embracing being really shit at swimming and fitness things that don't involve lifting weights. Because who knew, like weightlifting doesn't mean you're a good swimmer. It just means you're good at lifting weights, and that's kind of where it ends. So yeah. That was kind of a wake-up call.
I mean, yeah, I think absolutely. And I think, like you say, you reference our members that come into the gym for the first time kind of have expectations, but then wow,
yeah.
You know, that was really, really tough. And I've been there. And in fact, I've been there with swimming. I mean, like, I'm pretty well-rounded with my fitness, you know, running and lifting weights and biking and all sorts of just crazy stuff. But yeah, throw me in a pool. Once upon a time, I was like a water baby. But yeah, now
I know, why
it gets
are
you
things
really
so
quickly,
easy when you're kids? Like, I was like, when I was a kid
right?
in primary school,
and you don't pull
like,
muscles.
Literally, I was swimming like a fish, but honestly, this one length of the pool just totally, and it just made me think, do you know what, like, okay, like, it's not a comparison thing because I am fitter than maybe some people, but I thought, actually, like, I'm nowhere near as fit as I would like to be. Like, I would love to be able to swim a length of a swimming pool without literally feeling like I'm going to die. And it was funny because I was like with all of my colleagues as well, and we were all kind of in it together, and most of them can swim really well. And it was just this moment of being like, oh my God, this is actually quite an embarrassing situation. Like, I've got to the end of this swimming pool, plus I forgot it was lifeguard training day, so I was wearing makeup and that was streaming down my face. So I looked horrific. And it was just that moment of like, oh God, this is like a bit anxiety provoking actually. But then it was just like a real split second thing of like, just choose for it not to be embarrassing. Just literally embrace it, because what are you going to do? Like, okay, you're the crappiest here. You're probably the least fit here. Your makeup's all down your face. Everyone else looks half decent. Like, this is a joke. But I was like, come on, like, there is a real funny side here. And actually, what I realised, no one was laughing. Like, no one was taking the piss. Like, no one was actually judging me. And then it's kind of made me really like see sessions a bit differently as well, because I was like, why would I think people would laugh at me in that situation when I have clients who come to me and aren't very good at something because they've only just started training or it's the first time they've done an exercise, there's not even 1% of me that wants to laugh. I just have respect for them showing up, and even if like it's shockingly bad, I'm like, there's nothing funny about that. Like, my job is literally to help you do those things better and to get better at that. And it just made me think of how many clients I've interacted with, you know, recently and over the years who will apologize for not being able to do something. So they'll come in, or even if I do like a body MOT with them in the beginning, and I'm like, okay, like here is how you do a burpee and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh God, I'm really sorry. Like, oh, can you, I don't know how to do that. Can you explain it again? And the embarrassment that they seem to feel. And it always confuses me, because I'm like, you're here because you're not good at that. If you were good at that, you wouldn't be here. So my job is literally to help you with that. So it would be completely illogical for me to like find that funny or to like want to like mock you in that situation. And it just made me realize like we have to lean into being crap at things. We really do.
You know, for people that come into a gym environment for group PT, for example, for the first time, or PT, they don't realize it, but you know, to a degree, like you say, they're there for that reason, and you're there to help them overcome the setbacks or the failures. However, for someone going into it for the first time without that kind of coach or mentor, unfortunately for a lot of people, that first hurdle, that first, oh my gosh, I'm terrible at this, is the first and last. And unfortunately, a lot of people quit and fail at that point. You know, it's for us to help them to understand that kind of every failure is an opportunity to succeed. And that's, of course, what you've done. It's like, wow, okay, major failure, major setback, exciting new goal, bit of humility. You know, I'm pretty well-rounded, I can lift weights, but okay, I found something that I'm terrible at. Boom, let's go, you know? It's fun, right? It's exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's very much like a conscious choice as well. And I think the mind is a very powerful thing. And sometimes in those situations, it's not always as easy as this, but sometimes it's literally just a case of being like, I'm really choosing not to care in this situation, because you have to sometimes just let go of your pride. And for clients who, similar for me, like, why would I think I'd be fantastic at swimming if I haven't swum in 15 years? Like, I did a 5K run for the first time the other day, which that's another story, but that was potentially the hardest thing I've ever done physically, which is hilarious because I train clients who run marathons and do Ironman and all this crazy stuff. And I did my first like 5K run, not even outside, it was on a treadmill in a gym. It was the hardest thing ever. And I was like, oh, like I feel really disappointed that like that wasn't better, and like, you know, that's really crap in comparison to X, Y, Z. And then I thought, actually, why on earth would I think that I'd be good at a 5K run when I've never run in my life? Never, ever, like never. So, and it's that sort of pride of like, don't expect to be good at something if you don't put effort and time into that. Now, if I've been running for 10 years consistently and I still can't run a 5K, then it's probably worth looking at why that is. But if I've never run in my life, there is not a chance that I would be good at that unless I'm some sort of superhuman, which I'm categorically not. It also made me realise how much if you're not willing to invest time in something, don't expect to get somewhere with stuff. So one fitness goal, and I don't know if you can agree with me here, when I say to clients that apart from, you know, weight loss or growing muscle and whatever else, the one thing so many clients want to do, regardless of fitness level, regardless of gender, regardless of age, all the rest of it, is full press ups. That's just like a classic, isn't it? Like, I want to be able to do really good full press ups. And at that current moment, they can't even do kneeling press ups. And that's fine. Like, that's where we're at. meet with them then in 6 weeks' time, the goal is still the same, but nothing has changed at all. And surely, if the goal is that, there are certain things you need to do to get better at that and work towards that goal. Yeah. So I think that discipline, right, is...
Discipline, usually, like you say, those little things that you need to do to get you towards your goal are just the simplest things. Really, really simple things that people can apply on a daily. I think there's a few things I want to go into here to kind of segue into, you know, my background, and actually I'll share a sort of story with you. But before that, I mean, as a coach, we very often give people, okay, here are a few things that you can do on a consistent basis that's going to get you better, you know, work towards your goal, whether that's in a month or 6 months or 10 years or whatever. And then that time goes by, and then you say, okay, did you do these things time and time again over and over every single day? No. And that's why you didn't achieve your goal, you know? There's no magic, there's no shortcut or magic pill or whatever. It's just simple things generally. So based on, you know, this whole thing of I'm not good at something. So I'm going to go back like 10 years, and I really like wanted 3. to literally I wish I wanted to start creating products and programs, right, in the fitness realm. So I wanted to start editing videos. I wanted to start, you know, writing maybe a magazine or a book or something like that. Didn't have a clue where to start, but it was something that I really wanted to do. And I basically just took that first step, and I made time. I made an hour or 2 hours, half an hour, whatever, every single day to learn and teach myself how to edit a video. And I was terrible at it. I mean, I used to do like networking. So I used to go to these business networking events, and I thought it was the best thing ever. But they used to do these things called like a foresight, I think it was. And you would stand up and do like a presentation for like 20 minutes and introduce yourself and you know, basically just give people something to kind of learn about you so that they would want to work with you in the future. So I created a video of my experiences of traveling, and I put this video together in like iMovie, and I thought it was the best thing ever. And it was terrible. Like the audio was all out, the video was just, the transitions were terrible. It was just cheese, it was terrible. But then from that, I look back at it now and I think, wow, okay, I've come a long way. And that's because I've taken advice from people who are better than me at that. I've learned from the best, and I've applied it on a you know, at a pace that's worked for me, and I've gradually just got better and better at it. But even now, I look back at certain videos that I made a couple months ago, and I'm like, wow, that's terrible again. Like, what can I do to improve that? Learn a new skill, exciting. Let's start to slowly apply it, and it does take time. And you know, I have an expectation for myself, and sometimes I'm disappointed. But as I said before, that disappointment of I failed or I didn't quite achieve my goal, for a lot of people, that's the final hurdle. But for me, it's kind of, okay, I've set my expectation level. I didn't quite achieve it. I'm disappointed. Boo-hoo. Set my expectations a little higher than before. What do I need to do to get to the next level? And as I said before, it's usually a few simple things, a few simple practices that you can do every single day. And that is, and when I started to improve, say, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or so, I built a website with a friend, Gavin, and he taught me basically you only really need to know like 5% of Adobe Creative Cloud to be able to edit videos and you know, edit photos and do all the things you need to do. So 5%. And when you look at something, sometimes it's so overwhelming that you need to know everything. You don't. 5%. Take that first step. And for people coming into the gym, it's that first. Remember the first podcast we did? Like, show up, learn, be humble enough to learn and take advice and apply that advice wherever necessary. Not all of it, but the things that are useful for you. And keep doing it on a consistent basis. And you're going to improve.
And I think I totally agree. And I think our messages probably get a little bit boring sometimes. So I think we always come back to this same concept, regardless of what we're talking about, that like little and often is better than a complete overhaul overnight, and just how important consistency is. And it's the same with anything, isn't it? So I like the fact that you just gave an example that isn't actually fitness related. And I think the thing I do love about fitness is, though the same things are applicable to so many other areas of life. So even thinking on like okay, even if you think of a romantic relationship or even a friendship or something like that, and I think people have this constant feeling of like, oh, I'm not good enough to my partner, or I'm not the person they need me to be, or whether that's friendship or, you know, with a parent or something like that. And if we're constantly striving to be the perfect person in every way for this other person, you're always going to feel disappointed in yourself. And then I think that then leads to sort of quite toxic and sabotaging behavior. Whereas take a romantic relationship, for example, you have an argument with your partner. Okay, you're frustrated because the same things happened again, but maybe the little thing you've done better this time is you've said sorry just a little bit quicker than you might have otherwise. And that's a win. And same thing is true for work colleagues or parents or friends or whatever. And I think sometimes when people, if they can't get perfection, they think, nah, can't be arsed with any of it. And it's the same with, I don't know, like your diet and your nutrition as well. People set the bar so high, or, you know, if they're counting calories, for example, well, I want to slim up for summer, so 1,500 calories a day. And then maybe there's one day where they go slightly over that because no one can sustain such small amount of calories that, oh crap, well today was 2,000 calories, so I'm just going to make it 4,000 and get drunk and have pizza and all the rest of it. Whereas if you mostly do what you're supposed to, even 75% of the time, that's really, really consistent. And when you think of how many days are in a year, for example, 75% of the time, if you did what you're supposed to be doing in terms of your diet and your exercise and what you set out to do, oh my goodness, where would you be in a year's time? Let's say with when you set up your website, let's say your plan was, I'm working on it 5 days a week, or every evening I'm going to work on it. Let's say there's 1 week where you only managed to do it twice or even once. If you turn around and you go, well, I can't dedicate enough time to it, so forget it, then where's that going to get you? Whereas those, even if it's not as much as you wanted to initially do, those 1 or 2 days a week all add up. It's the same with the training or the diet or the friendships, or we can't be perfect, can we? Well, I know I can't.
Perfection. No, yeah. I used to be a perfectionist, and then going back to that kind of book, that ebook that I put out 10 years ago, I spent ages on it. I completed it and I looked at it and I thought, great. And then I'd come back next day, it's not perfect. Yeah. Redo. And then you just keep going. And you never actually get it out there. And normally it's when you put something out there, like with Burn It now, if I complete something, we just came up with something pretty cool for the Club 500 for Burn It members. I'm sure there's going to be feedback. Yeah. And that's fine. Yeah. Because once upon a time I would have kept it until it's perfect and then put it out. But now I just think, okay, I'm happy with it. Let's see what the other guys come back with. And they've all got their own perspectives, and together as a team you improve. Is that, you know, one bad meal early in the day shouldn't have a knock-on effect to the rest of your day. You can reclaim that day. Otherwise it has a knock-on effect to the next few days. But I think it comes from just experience and showing up. And as you said, you know, you might not be able to do like every single day. You might only have 1 day this week, but you're going to show up as your best self. And if you do have a setback, it's not, oh, well, I'm a disappointment, what's the point? It's, I had a setback, let's analyze, like, what went wrong? And then what did I learn? And then what can I contribute? What can I do better next time? And it's just that process, right? Like, what did you learn from that length of swimming? You know, that I'm terrible at swimming and that I need to build my capacity. Okay, what am I going to do to improve it? Well, I'm going to, do you know what I mean? Yeah, and my instinct was to be like, okay, I'm going to run 5K every day. I'm going to swim like 4 times a week and blah, blah, blah. I haven't, first of all, because I'm so bad at it that would absolutely tire me out so badly. But also, like, I have other things in my life that are a priority. So as much as I do want to be better at those things, you know, I'm doing it maybe once, twice a week maximum. But I think as you were talking, another thing that came to me was how negative comparison can be in these situations. I don't always want to bring it back to like Instagram and social media, but I think sometimes when we have certain goals or things that we want to achieve,
that element of comparison can be so negative. And I know there's been times where I've had certain fitness goals, and obviously naturally, because I'm into bodybuilding and sort of looking at CrossFit athletes and, you know, people who are, you know, at the top of their game, I find that really inspiring. My social media feed is full of, you know, really ripped bodybuilders or people who've just competed in the no, the timer. Just
forget the timer. Keep going.
Keep going. So naturally, my feed is on social media is full of all these athletes. Even, you know, it's full of other trainers who I work with and who I look up to in many other ways, who are running marathons or doing crazy events. And then I have my kind of what I think is quite a small fitness goal, and I look at that and I think, oh God, well, I'm aiming to run 5K in 30 minutes. And Leonie, shout out to the girl, is playing tag rugby every 5 minutes and doing about a marathon a week. Do you know what I mean? Shout out Leonie, bloody hell. Yeah. Amazing. And that's just one example. Like Betty's obviously recently done a marathon. Andy's like insane CrossFit athlete. He'll say, he'll be annoyed at me for saying that, but he's like insanely fit, like ridiculous. Oh, yeah. And then I'm like, I'm so proud because I ran 5K in 30 minutes. And actually, like, that's awesome. Like, because that's my journey. In the same way that some people would look at me running 5K in 30 minutes and think, oh, I would never be able to do that. I can't even walk 5K without wanting to sit down. And there's been times where I've like watched, you know, had all that stuff of professional athletes coming at me and being awesome and then not feeling good enough. And then I've then watched a documentary on like someone who lives in America and eats 5 takeaways a day and is like 60 stone. And then I'm like, well, I'm the epitome of health compared to them, and I don't need to push for anything because I'm so fit. And neither are positive to compare yourself to, like, at all. And so I think what we feed ourselves and who we interact with, and not just looking at social media, but like, okay, I can look at, let's say, Leonie's Instagram, for example, see all this crazy, incredible stuff, which is awesome, but then you forget that actually the real life interaction with someone is more important, and actually sitting down with someone like that and saying, okay, let's understand each other. Like, you know, she battles through stuff, like recently had an injury. I hope she won't mind me saying this, but it's like, actually there's a lot of hard work that goes into stuff. Like, it's not all what you see on Instagram and social media about you know, what you've achieved and stuff like that. And I love her Instagram because it's really, really honest. But when you talk to someone face to face, it's like, wow, like, of course she's just run a marathon because she's trained for that. Look at the hard work and the sacrifice that has gone into something like that. In the same way, people who have healthy romantic relationships or, you know, good relationships with friends and work colleagues, like, that doesn't come without sacrifice. And I think sometimes the problem is we live in a society where things do look like they come really easily.
We see the highlight reels on Instagram, right? And we see that and we're like, oh, how did they do that? But we don't see the hard work, and the hard work happens when no one's watching, typically. You know, like you put so much work into something, and actually the final result is just the final result. People see it and assume that you've just been handed it. But no, like you say, Leonie's a great example of that. But I think for people who, you know, are coming in for the first time, or even people who are trying something new, I think you summed it up really nicely at the start. And it's like, first of all, they need to want to do it, and they need to know that there are going to be setbacks. I can surround myself with people such as Rachel that can shorten my learning curve, but I need to have some sort of, first of all, acceptance, right? I need to accept that this is going to be a struggle, and then learn and apply and reapply and fail again and learn and what can I take from it? What can I contribute in the future? And you'll get there, right? You know, you put the work in. And
this,
put the hard work in when
what you're saying really reminds me of the person that I nominated this month for most improved GPT member. Not to like really be cheesy and like bring it on to that. And I don't know, I won't say the person's name because I don't know when this podcast will go out. But this person like just came in with such humility and such a great attitude. And because of that, like you said, like that learning process has shortened like a little bit because of how willing she is to just learn, to get better, to be humble, and to consistently show up. Like, it's not, we've said this time and time again, there's going to be so many times, particularly if you're someone like me, if you do suffer with depression, you do suffer with low motivation, and generally like life is just a bit hard, then, you know, it's only about 10% of training sessions I actually want to do and be there. The rest of it is just, you know, that's a healthy habit that I've built. And so for this person who I've nominated for the most improved member, it's like the progress that I've seen in this person, because of all those things we're talking about, the humility, the consistency, the, like, she's fun, like she has a laugh, like, you know, she's working on press ups at the moment, and obviously finding them difficult because press ups are really, really hard, and she's doing them properly, which makes them harder. But, you know, when she gets it wrong, like, she has a laugh about it and still pushes just as hard, but there's like a real humility there. And I'm like, I'm just so inspired by people like that. And that's what I'm going to picture when I'm next doing my swim on my 5K run, which last week was fueled by Burger King. But we won't talk about that because, you know, healthy diet and that.
We'll talk about that next time. Anyway, I think that's a wrap. That was a good. It's just nice to catch up again. It's been a while.
It really is.
You know,
yeah.
fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, I think that'll do it for now.
Sick.
Awesome.
See you later.
Sick. See ya.